Good morning and good evening to everyone. It's good to be here with you. I just noticed that Mary said my intro is about 4 minutes after I've already started. We went on YouTube to catch his intro about 4 minutes after it already started. Well, it just started now, so I'm not quite sure how that happens, but there can be a delay between for me to the service that distributes it to all the places it has to go, and YouTube, and there's all sorts of things that have to happen in live streaming. There's an enormous amount of technology that goes on. As you can tell, I'm not at home. I'm visiting my cats. If you saw my cat friends, if you saw the tail go across, who's now figured out how to open the cabinets below me and get inside. So I have the table backed up so she can't do that, at least not while I'm here. So hello to all. As you probably noticed from the title, I don't really have anything in particular that's come to mind to me to speak about. So I will just see if there are any questions that have arrived in your hearts and minds. So I can kind of pick up on it, or any subject you might want me to talk more about as I sit here waiting for some kind of inspiration from on high as to what to say. I mean, various ideas come to me, but when the one comes that's supposed to become the subject, I just kind of know it. And I did a video, I think I released it last week, maybe the week before, on knowingness. And that sense that we have of yes and no, yeah, this is it, this is it, this isn't it, this isn't it. And it's very mysterious, isn't it? Our minds can come up with all sorts of criteria for it, right? Well, is it a good title? Is it a good marketing idea? Is it a good, right? Is it going to have this effect? All these criteria, but when it comes right down to it, there's just this very quiet voice in us that says, yeah, that's it. Or, no, not quite right. And I got nothing but, no, not right. When I was setting this up and then the time before, in the shower this morning and the like. But Mary has a question, which is, I'll take that up. I hadn't even thought about that. That's the title for the show, isn't it? What is radical heart wisdom? What's the wisdom of the heart, right? As opposed to the wisdom of the mind. I think what I was talking about, that sense of just an intuitive knowing, to me, that's it. And it has a really beautiful flavor to it, because it's not the kind of decision making we get from the mind. That is the psychological mind. Right? I guess I'll talk a little bit more about what more pure mind is in a minute. There's thought processes and conditions we examine and logic that we go through to arrive at a particular decision about things when we're using our trained minds, right? But then there's this other sense that just knows. It's instinctive, it's intuitive. And it has a feeling about it. What heart wisdom feels like to me is that it is a reaching. It's a reaching for an action or a decision or a choice or anything, but it's reaching beyond one's own best interest, right? My own personal interest. It's reaching to a place that's very selfless. Right? Now, it's not, that can actually get misconstrued, and you can have people always denying themselves in service to others. thinking that that's the right way to be. It turns out that is really just those of us who were traumatized enough to to learn that the only way to survive was to deny their own needs and take care of somebody else. Right? It was always about somebody else, so that there was never a balance or flow between my needs and the needs of my predominantly my caregivers. As children, we're wired to be taken care of. There's nothing wrong with it. Children are not selfish. That's actually, I think Freud ended up trying to blame the child for things. The bundle of desires and the like. We're wired to be taken care of. We expect to be taken care of. And the parents should be doing that job. And little by little, the child learns independence, self-sufficiency, as well as interdependence and group sufficiency in this beautiful balance when it's done correctly. If that doesn't happen, it's a real shock to the system. It's a major league trauma, because you're supposed to, the child expects it. I watch it in my granddaughters now. One's 2, one's has just turned 7. And watching it happen, right? Total dependency, total vulnerability, and more independence, more and more taking care of herself. Everything now. Baba, I'm going to do it. I can do it. We got to do that. I know how to do that. Stepping into that. But again, something happened. She's crying. And right? So it's this beautiful thing that very naturally happens. That's heart wisdom. Right? That's that sense of simply knowing. Now, the reason it's radical is because we've gotten disconnected from it. We trust our minds. We trust processes. We trust authorities. We defer to the scholars and academics, or people in power, or people that carry some kind of weight within the society. We defer to them. And the further a culture gets away from its natural roots, from the heart, the worse that authority is going to be. And so, for the longest time, when I got into the metaphysics of it, I was really trying to be a purist. It's all mind. If you look at the various New Thought churches, A Course in Miracles and the like, it really is a focus on the mind. Metaphysics, manifestation, law of attraction, it's all focused on the mind. And thinking correctly, and lining up your thoughts correctly, and aligning your emotions with your thoughts, and vice versa, making yourself feel better, right? And that's a very mental way to approach it. You're going to make yourself feel better. It's a very mental way of approaching it. Whereas the heart simply acknowledges its own needs. It's that simple. It acknowledges your own needs. Recognizes your humanness. Doesn't try to transcend it. Right? Boy, did I get in trouble trying to transcend it rather than embracing the humanness. I so wish I had learned about Buddhism so much earlier. It would have helped enormously. Because in Buddhism, they have it beautifully balanced between the non-dual, the focus on it's nothing but mind, and the heart, the path of the bodhisattva, which is the ideal of Buddhism. It is this beautiful flow in between. And when we're in a world that has gotten increasingly mental and materialistic and egoistic, relying on your intuition, your instincts, your heart is radical. Quite radical, quite revolutionary. I mean, if you look at children, or you look at your pets, it's not radical at all. It's just the way they are. Right? But this is the evolution that the sense of self has gone through, and had to go through, and is still going through, to consciously come to the point where the dance between the heart and the head is fluid and flowing, that they really merge into one. You don't hear, you hear the word heart in Zen and the like more lately, simply because it's coming to the West, it recognized that whereas traditionally heart and mind were not separate, they saw it as one whole. There was the consciousness of being, and then there was the feeling of being. They were both aspects of consciousness. Whereas in the West, we've got this schism, and the heart gets associated with sentimentality and romanticism and that sort of thing. It gets reduced to emotion, right? And then mind, separate from the heart, ends up being very cold, precise, scientific, objective, and all of that. And it's a total disconnect between what in fact is flow. So does that answer it for you, Mary? People are making a comment about Brent, so I think I better go back and grab his really quick before I even say hello to everyone. Brent, Brother G, my mom unexpectedly passed away a few days ago. Could you please speak on grief and assure me that this is a natural part of life? Much love. Oh, Brent. And I can see all the expressions of love for you. Of course, it's a natural part of life. This notion that somehow we by transcending death and transcending the dependency on impermanence, transcending our attachment to things and people, that somehow we're not going to feel anything. I grieve things all the time. In that retreat I was at a couple of weeks ago, I found myself in the middle of it, very deep in meditation, suddenly just welling up with tears. I didn't know where they were coming from. And they just kept going and going. And I just, tissue after tissue after tissue. And finally, I began to see, what began to pop up is that the shame that was deep in my father, that was active in me. And for the first time in my entire life, I finally came to terms with my father, who's always been in the background, because my mother's illness and the like, it was a cloud. It hung over everything. It was dominated everything. And my father just didn't want to be, but he was ashamed that he couldn't take care of me, that he couldn't protect me. He was ashamed of all sorts of stuff. And I grieved it. I mean, it could still bring tears to my eyes. I grieved the pain that man went through. And I didn't grieve that much at his death. We were so disconnected. And he died when I was 20-something, 22, 24, somewhere around there. Early 20s, he died. And I never really grieved it. The tears never really flowed. But they finally did. And it healed me of some lingering shame that was in me. Some of the perfectionism that I inhabited, because if I could be perfect, then I would get the love that I needed. If I could just do everything right, which started out as total rebellion. So I purposely did everything wrong. And then when I became spiritual, I wanted to do everything right. Boy, I lived like a monk. I was just intense on it. No balance there whatsoever. So grief is something to simply allow, right? Especially when it comes with shock, right? Because the first thing that's going to happen is your mind's going to try to deny it, right? It didn't really happen, even though there it is, the evidence right in front of you. And it's going to try to understand why. It's going to say, what could I have done? What if I had done something, right? The fact of the matter is, when it's time for somebody to go, it's time. There's nothing to do with anything that's going on around them. Nothing. It's nothing to do with circumstances. It doesn't matter if they smoked their whole life, right? Or they ate horrible foods. None of that is really what happens. It is simply the unfolding of an individual's experience, and experiencing exactly what they need, which for you now is to experience her suddenly passing away on you. So your number one goal here is to allow yourself to grieve. Grieving is a very natural process. It's how the whole nervous system, energy system, body-mind complex, life itself, how it reorganizes itself when it has suffered an irrecoverable loss. You see it in all sorts of animals. Especially elephants are particularly sensitive that way. They are visually grieving. You can see it in dogs and cats, and the like. It's really pronounced in elephants for some reason. They're highly sensitive and emotional creatures. But they don't fight it. They don't make up stories about it, right? They don't try to figure out why. They don't try to suppress it. They just moan and wail if they need to. And you let yourself be with that. And what happens is that the nature of life itself begins to recalibrate itself, reorganize itself. And everything about them that was loved and cherished, every effect they had on you, every way they touched you, becomes completely available and open and loving. And eventually the sting falls away. The sting falls away, but the respect and the love never does. Because the truth is, nobody ever dies. Nobody was ever born. It is the self, and only the self, which is in a constant modulation, transforming one thing into another. It is the constant theme playing out all over the universe. It is the universe. You are the universe. Brent French was never born. A world appeared in front of you. And this is a world that appears to have opposites and ups and downs, and life and death, and fame and disrepute, and all of the opposites that make up experience all appeared to you, as has this. She is an aspect of you. And so as you let yourself just grieve through it, and tapping is helpful. I've used tapping on people going through grief, not to stifle the grief at all, but to help surrender to it, to let the body feel it's okay to surrender to this. And just let yourself feel whatever you're feeling. Take whatever time you need to let it process. Accept whatever help is given from your family and other members of the family. Share with the others. If you have siblings, or I don't know if her husband is still around, or any of the family, right? Share it with them. Don't try to isolate. Be close and towards one another, because it's a transition for not just for you personally, but for everyone. Truth is, it's a transition for all of us. Don't ask for whom the bell tolls; it tolls for thee. Beautiful line. So just stay in your heart. Stay out of the mind. You'd find your mind will be trying to make stories about it, trying to come up with explanations and who did this, and maybe the doctor did something wrong, or maybe something was unseen, and maybe I should have seen it, maybe I should have noticed the symptoms. There's nothing you did or could have done that was the cause of this. When it's time for us, it's time for us. Just like there was nothing that caused the birth to take place, the birth of Brent that you witnessed, and then all of the people and all of the beings and all of the things that appeared as it all appeared to you. So there's It is all in. I don't want to say this so it sounds like there's some kind of predestination or over, super being, monitoring all of this. But there's a natural unfoldment to everything that is birthed right out of the nature of being itself. And that nature of being is what you are. And so hold to that, but let yourself grieve. And as you do that, you'll notice how the grief there's a joy in it. There's a release in it as you let go, recognizing that everything in life must be let go of. And that doesn't make it cold. You're just letting go, letting go, letting go, sinking deep into yourself, seeking deep into the reality of the impermanence of all things. And that impermanence is what makes them so precious. And eventually the grief will dissipate. The whole body-mind mechanism will reorganize itself. And what will remain will only be the sweetness. Even the bad times will just fade. Is this helping, my brother? Mm-hmm. And you can just see all the love pouring out to you. Very good. I just say hi to people. Hello, Rosario, David and Elaine, my buddies. Mary Sykes, there's Ava, there's Ursula, there's Pat. Hello, Patricia. Carl, Chris Howarth. Hi, sweetheart. Hi to you. There's Ida Catherine Ingo. All right, Carl. Hi, G. I've been feeling guilty about the sense of freedom I've experienced through this work, especially in relation to my parents who didn't have the same resources to help them. It's difficult to watch them suffer, especially in old age. Have you any advice for this? Thank you. Yes, I do. As we discover who we are, and that starts to bear fruit in terms of genuine experience of freedom, emotionally, maybe physically. Sometimes circumstances can change very radically and reflect this freedom. Sometimes they don't change at all. There's just a feeling that's in there. Like people who have woken up in prison. I mean, there's no change to their circumstances whatsoever, but they're free. And they know it. So when that happens, right, it is inevitable that the old habit patterns of the conditioned life, conditioned mind, are going to arise in contrast to it. Now, you can see yourself as somebody who now has to struggle to overcome guilt, or you can see it simply as someone who has already awoken, to whom guilt is appearing, right, in order to reestablish a person, a being, someone who can feel guilty. So now notice, it is just a feeling that has arisen, hasn't it? But now that feeling has old habit patterns attached to it. So it arises and a sense of identification immediately gloms onto it and says, I feel guilty about this. Now, there's no feeling of guilt in freedom, is there? They're complete opposites and contradictions. Right? And that feeling of guilt is one that's very common, that somehow I shouldn't have all these blessings when nobody else has these blessings. Or you can say, wow, I have all these blessings. I hope to God I have an opportunity to share them with others. And then you look at the others and you go, well, there was a whole pattern, there was a whole thing that unfolded over my life. that brought me to this point. When I look back, the vast majority of it was not pretty. It was not happy. It wasn't great, wealth and opportunity and success and all of these things that they say life is all about. It was exactly the opposite. And yet this happened. This awakening happened. This insight happened that has so captured me, it's become my life. I show up here every 2 weeks. And anything else he's doing. Probably some other teachers as well. Right? It was Nisargadatta, I think, who said that the moment the idea of enlightenment hits your consciousness, it's game over. He didn't use those words. He says it can never be forgotten. It's in. The serum has been injected. It is doing its thing. There's no avoiding it. Right? And this is the process by which awakening takes place. Now, you can look at it in one of two ways. You can look at it as and both are legitimate. Okay, this progressive path, the sudden path. Our experience is we don't have the heavens part. It's the Buddhist story. People ignore the 6 years of self-inflicted suffering up to that point, which he, in a sense, had to experience because he'd lived a very cush life. He was a prince, right? But at any rate, and Buddhism is really good at covering both sides of this path, of this single path. And that the one side you have the rarefication, the purification, the uplifting of the individual. We become more kind. We become more compassionate. We become more open and receptive. We become more curious, more patient. All of the glorious, wonderful qualities that we all love when it shows up in us, and we love it experiencing it in other people. Now, we can either see that as an individual who's had an awakening experience who is now becoming more purified, or we can see it as a finished awakening that is now clearing away everything that is unlike it. Notice we're looking at exactly the same phenomena. One way we're looking at it from the progressive path, and the other way we're looking at it from the sudden path. The truth of the matter is, your awakening was complete the first time you heard the word. The first time you were drawn to it. And you know when that was. Because after that, it got your attention. It kept getting your attention. More and more energy went into it. More and more time went into it. More and more study. More and more practice. Right? So what was causing that? It wasn't a decision we made somewhere. It was the moment that happened. And this is the case for every single person. For every being you experience, this is the case. And you could very well be the particular influence that said the word and they got it, and it sparked something in your parents. You could very well be the catalyst for that. You may not. But I can tell you this, that if you can simply hold them in this sense of they too are just a manifestation, a modulation, a morphing of the one being, that holding, that picture of them will be an influence. It may not have any effect in this life. You may never see the results of it. But the very fact that you're already experienced it and you are in their vicinity, something has happened. Something has happened. And of course, this is also, to go back to the first, to Mary's question, this desire to set others free, that's the heart wisdom. That's it. That's the bodhisattva. I can't have this alone. Are you kidding? Like if I won the lottery, I'd give so much of it away. Oh my God, I don't know how long it would last. I'd just be giving it away. So don't underestimate the power of that simple desire to bless. This is not everybody's desire, is it? So what happens that makes you so? And of course, for a lot of people, even the hardest-hearted people, will mostly, unless they're truly pathological, at least have some kind of sensitivity to their parents. It was said that Hitler just could not stand to see an animal suffer. There's a spark. There's a spark. In an otherwise completely darkened consciousness. And so be willing to watch them in old age and recognize it's a Buddhist tenet. Old age is suffering. I can testify to it. So, but don't watch them suffer. Don't project suffering on them. Remember, if we project it on it, that's what we're going to see. And of course, that is our own fear of when we get to that point, right? In our own lives, because it's coming to all of us. You know, the alternative is that you hit by a bus or something. But so don't project that on them, and just really be present with them. Ask them, well, what are you feeling right now? Right? Is there anything I can do to make you comfortable? Nothing we can do? All right, well, I'm just sit here let's be here with you. Right? And so it doesn't have to be suffering. Old age can be suffered, or it can just be experienced. Right? So don't make sure that you're not suffering their old age, right? Because then there's three. You know, let's limit it to just the two, if they are. Right? And if you do that, you'll find ways, beautiful ways, in which you can alleviate it. You can bring their attention somewhere else. You can point things out. You can help distract them. Right? Because remember, a lot of it is a focus of our attention and this image in the mind. I'm getting old. This is terrible. All this stuff is going wrong. Right? It's easy to grab onto that, you know. Yeah, when you getting old, it's easy to. And that's a lot of the conversation. I hear it when I'm around people, older people. Right? It can become the trend of the conversation. I'd much rather hang out with 7-year-olds. It's much more interesting conversation. Yeah, does that help, Carl? It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to be with the nature of human life in total embrace and acceptance. Yes, this too. Yeah. Whereas this is you. This is me. Right? I don't have an expiration date on my birth certificate. I have no idea when it's about. I just watch. This is the natural thing. Yep, this is what's happening. My body's doing this now. My mind is doing this now. My eyesight is doing this now. My hair is doing this now. And okay, yeah. And then you notice that, oh, wait a minute. What is it that noticed that this doesn't feel the same? Well, that must have been there when it felt different. It must have been there when I was 60, when I was 50, when I was 10, right? Something noticed the difference. It's noticed all the changes. Well, obviously, whatever that is, it's not changing, is it? And this is the wonderful, wonderful thing we all get to wake up to. The truth of the matter is, your parents are already awake. They just don't know it yet. As are all of you. We seem to know it in varying degrees, but awakening doesn't have any degrees, really. It's how it unfolds, how it's seen. No one wakes up. Beautiful. So, hope that helps, Carl. David and Elaine. Hi, G. If the sense of ourselves as consciousness is confined to thought and not experientially, then surely it would be just another belief to replace the one that we are the body or mind. Yes, that's actually the case. Yeah, we need to go beyond the concept, right? All concepts. Your being has no concepts. Set aside even the word consciousness, the word enlightenment or awakening, the word self. Set aside all of those, and what's left? Well, you're still here. There's someone who saw the concept, and then someone who saw that it was being seen. And so, what can happen, and you see this happen a lot these days because of the sheer volume of the non-dual teaching and information that's available now that wasn't prior to this, even 20 years ago, right? Prior to YouTube and even after it began. But little by little, I'm seeing new non-dual teachers pop up all the time. And it's very easy to see, pure consciousness, taken in as a concept, and really develop a whole story about it. So here's the litmus test. Am I getting more kind? Am I less afraid? Am I more compassionate? Am I more curious? Am I more interested in this other than other things? Am I less easily distracted? Am I more aware of myself, my own feelings? Am I more kind? Am I more compassionate towards my own humanness and the humanness of others? Those are the characteristics you look to see that it's more than a concept. And it's an easy trap to fall into. To go beyond them is not easy because the mind would rather be in concepts, right? I mean, it's comfortable there. I got an idea, consciousness. Oh yeah, I know what that is, and I know what science says about it, and in the brain, is it in the brain, is it not in the brain? These guys had this experience and the like. And so it can really become quite elaborate. And there's books written about it, right? and our discursive minds love that, right? Gives it something to think about. It gives it a destination. I'm going to work out now my enlightenment. And eventually, ta-da, angels will sing. And so it can become a path. But if one is sensitive enough, and well, let me put it this way. If you do that without also opening up your heart to the inner revelations of the traumas and the wounds and the pains and the shit that has happened, right? It will become a means of suppressing. It'll be a spiritual end run, right? It will try to deny the existence of that, to explain away all that. It's not really real. No, it's not real. It's not real. It's just pure consciousnness. If that happens, you get stuck there. But if there's a sensitivity there, then with good teaching, it usually comes that, no, there's more to it than that. Yes, it's true. It's absolutely true. There isn't anything else but pure consciousness. Now, what's your experience? Really, sit still, just be present. What are you feeling? Well, there's a lot of stuff here I want to run away from. Beautiful, perfect. As Ajahn Chah says, if you have not yet wept deeply, you have not yet meditated. So the heart has to open. And when the heart opens, the wounds, the pains, the stuff begins to come up. Anger and rage, all the suppressed stuff has permission now to come up. And this way, going this way towards pure consciousness, you begin to eventually settle into the pure sense of I am. that is solid and and um, and real and not fluctuating, even while all the stuff is happening. There's a beautiful distance that takes place, and then there's a sense of identity that sits with the I am, while it very patiently lets karma unfold itself in the way it needs to. As Nisargadatta said, I leave my human life to fulfill its destiny. I remain as I am. And somewhere else he said, I have the only obstacles I have are 81 years of accumulated experience. So he was never disconnected from it. He never denied it. He was just completely with it at all times. Even never even bothered to give up smoking, which so we want to be careful about that because it's subtle, especially when you're very smart, right? You've got a sharp intellect and you can grab onto these concepts easily, and we've come to learn how to rely on the intellect. It's the heart that has to open, and I think I'm going to do an online retreat. I'm going to think about maybe 4 hours long. That is solely on meditating on the I am. If you guys would like that, let me know. I want to do one on Balayani and on the Ribhu Gita as well, but this is the one that feels the most imminent to me, so that we can have a way of connecting to the pure I am. Because remember, you can't connect to the absolute. You are the absolute. Right? The way to the absolute is through the door of the I am. The I am, the sense I am, is also without form, without personhood, without identification. It is without shape. It is without boundaries. Right? It is coexistent with the absolute. It didn't even arise out of the absolute. It is an aspect of the absolute. So when we say the absolute is prior to I am, what it means is that it's in priority, not in time. Right? Because obviously, the pure I am, the pure beingness, is there's nothing known, because there's nothing to know. No. And then the arising of the I am, or what you would call what Nisargadatta referred to as consciousness, right, is the creator of the universe. It's God. And we go past God to the absolute beingness. And to do that simply requires the constant returning to the sense I am, which is basically the only practice I have. That is my entire meditation practice in a nutshell. Simply sit as the I am. And over time, it becomes more sitting with the I am to sitting as the I am. So all of the sense of other just dissolves away. It doesn't mean the stuff doesn't still happen. It's just the sense of identification, the pull towards it, the attraction of it becomes less and less. And then you just let it fulfill its destiny, and you remain as you are. Is that answered for you, my friend? Blessing. Order and chaos, grim mind and heart. There's just more love for Brent. Yeah. We all love you dearly. Order and chaos, mind and heart. Is there something you want me to speak about on that, Grimace? It's funny, my voice feels higher today. Sometimes it's way down here, but okay. It's okay to surrender, said Brent. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, everyone. Feeling the love today. Oh, it's a necessity to surrender. You're learning to surrender to life as it is. Oh my God. That's building for eternity. Hassan too. Mary, I've been seeing people talking about David Hawkins' calibration of frequencies. A while ago, you spoke on this. You mentioned how he was influenced by Christianity and that the calibrations were susceptible to one's deeper subconscious beliefs. Can you elaborate more on this? Well, I saw him on video talk and the like, and I think the man was very genuine. He's golden, big heart. He had a genuine awakening, right? That took him to a different level of consciousness. But it was clear that it was influenced by certain things, and the means by which he arrived at his calibrations of, his energy calibrations. Right, there's low level energy, high level energy, and he even put Buddha and Christ and Raman, all these people on this scale. The means he used to do that was muscle testing, right? And muscle testing, because it's actually better than the conscious mind. I've done some of it with people, and I've had it done to me, and it can be very revealing. It can get you more in touch with what's going on in your body, but it is what's going on in your body, right? Now, unless the body itself is completely cleansed of all the wounds and traumas, there's no suppression, there's no stuck energy, right? Then it will always tell the truth, because it is one with the truth, right? It is one with its truth. There's still the sense of the body, right? But because with any unprocessed stuff, any things that have yet to be released and brought to the light and healed, as well as strong beliefs about certain ideologies, because they're so strong, they're embodied, the body will answer according to that. So it's important to realize that. I met one guy once, interesting character, but a real messianic complex. He really thought he was coming here. He had a near-death experience. He was a chiropractor and a near-death experience and all these experiences. And like, he came back, he really thought, he was the savior of the world. And he was in his own form of, he used it for everything. Oh, don't eat that. And he would teach people to do it. And so I tried doing it. It's like nothing. I got, sometimes I get something with the arm, and like Gary Craig, who created EFT, he used some kind of motion with his arm that he would feel it with. I watched him do that. But of course, the body will say yes when it means no, when it doesn't know any better. It'll say no when it doesn't know any better, just like anything else, just like any reactive pattern we have in the nervous system. The things we run away from when we don't need to, right? We all have had that experience, right? So it has some advantages in some circumstances, but it's not foolproof. Once that's understood, we have to look beyond the body and the body-mind mechanism for truth. And he looked to the body for truth. And the body, of course, reinforced his deepest beliefs about truth, which was Christianity and Christ. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. How's that, Mary? Hello, Dale. Oh, celebrating 18 years of marriage today. Oh, 18 married. Hey, wow, 18 years. Congratulations, my man. I love hearing stories like that. Oh, wonderful. Hello, Dale. Good to see you. There's Peter in Italy. There's Free. Hello, G. Love your video on There Is No Person. Could it be said that we are the perceiving? GP, could it be said that our true nature is the perceiving? Yes. That's absolutely the case. There's nobody there that is perceiving. I did that video a long time ago, There Is No Person. It's my most watched video of all time. I think like 90,000 views or something like that. And it's also gotten quite a bit of comments, a lot of them, few negative ones, but mostly good ones. And it's just, the whole idea is to dismantle this sense of the personal sense of being, which is a projection of our minds. It's imaginary. The sense of self is real. Right? Because of the way the mind develops and our lives and all of that sort of thing, the mind creates a self-image and then projects it on experience. Right? Now, there's no actual thing there. Now, what it projects is a person. That there's somebody who's acting and doing and making things happen. Looking closely, you find there isn't. This is the meaning of emptiness. And so in the process then, okay, there's no person, then what am I? We can see ourselves more as the perceiving, right? Because perceiving is obviously happening, right? It's obviously happening, right? Well, to whom is that happening? Right? And so don't stop just at I am the perceiving, because if you really feel into it, you'll recognize that there's a very subtle duality there. Because according to the way we normally think, the way we've been trained, there must be something or someone that is perceiving. And this is where we begin to give kind of, in a very subtle way, personalize the sense I am. Right? That I am me and you are you. And it's very subtle, right? Because yes, you could see it as the pure perceiving, but look even further, because there's something perceiving the perceiving. Now, what is that thing? Now, you can't get directly to it because it cannot be perceived. If I can perceive it, it can't be me, including perceiving. Right? This is very subtle. This is right to the edge. So what you do instead is that you simply focus your attention on the sense of being. So the perceiving is simply giving attention to that sense I am, the sense of my own existence. And you'll notice how that sense gets very mixed up and all embroiled in all of the things that are being perceived. And just keep going back to the sense I am. That's it. I am not mixed with anything. And you'll find mixing it up. Oh, okay, just no reference point whatsoever. It is the subtlest thing we can experience. Beyond that is the absolute. But the doorway to the absolute is that sense I am. You said something later here. I feel it was seen from here 5 years ago for 2 weeks. And during this entire 5 years, it's been a reorganizing and exfoliating. I like that, exfoliating of the mind and body. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. That is exactly what's happening. And your only job is to say, yes, Lord. The humility of the human spirit, which surrenders to the divinity within you. As Balyani put it so beautifully, he said, God takes the last step on the journey that never happened. Ooh. I really want to do a workshop on Balyani too. It relieves us from the sense of that I've got more work to do. All you have to do is follow the leadings, right? Follow the breadcrumbs back home, right? Because no matter where you are, no matter what's happening, right, you have to be there in order for it to be experienced. So you, for all events, all experiences, you're primary. So if habitually our attention goes from the experience to noticing yourself present as the experiencer, you are bringing yourself back. Now, sometimes you'll find yourself always engaged and then suddenly go, oh, to whom is this appearing? Oh, to me. Okay, who am I? I am. And it could be just a split second and you have to be engaged. That's fine. That's not a problem. Remember, Nisargadatta was a householder. He went from complete ignorance to full awakening in 3.5 years because this is all he did. His teacher told him to do it. His guru said, I trusted him. I believed him. I did it. That was it. That was the only reason he did it. He didn't have, I mean, he lived in the slum. He ran a cigarette, little tiny cigarette shops, right? He'd made cigarettes. He was just a regular, uneducated fellow. Right? I believed him. I trusted him. So I did it. So when you've had an experience like you've had, and most of the people here have, if not all, our mind wants to figure things out, right? It wants to get back to it, or wants to do something with it, or, oh, there's a process I have to go through now. Actually, there isn't, right? The knowledge you need will come as you need it. Right? Believe me, I wasted years trying to make it happen. Trying to hold on to those moments and then feel like I had some personal responsibility. God takes the last step on the journey that never happened. So what's your job? Find God. What's God? I am. That's God. I am that I am. The sense I am is God, and it is what is leading you, the sense of you, back to the reality of you. So you're not even doing it in the sense that the sense of a person who you now see doesn't exist, right? But the sense of that person is still active, right? So every time you close and try to put your attention on the I am, and the mind goes, oh, what's for lunch? You know, the universe is expanding. Wow, this is, what are we going to do about this? Oh, I hate those things. Wow, what a nice car. That's what your mind's going to do. That's what they do, right? It's a squirrel, right? And so you just, okay, just keep coming back to the I am. Oh, that's right. Who's being distracted? Oh, to whom is this distracted mind appearing? To me. And there's the distracted mind. Look at that. Yeah, talking about lunch. But then who am I? The one who's aware of it. Sure. And now attention just keeps coming back. Keeps coming back. And that is your only job. Really. All the rest, you can talk about consciousness and the like, and sometimes it's necessary to do that. We do need some understanding, right? We can't be completely ignorant. I'm sure Nisargadatta gained understanding about different things as time went on, but it wasn't the gaining of the understanding that brought him to completion. Right? It was that. And I even did a video of just quotes from him. Just keep going back to the I am. Mooji just shortly ago did a little video about 17 minutes long about just go to the I am. He's done a few of those. That's the first one I've seen where that was it. You know, I've talked about a lot of things, but here, this is the exercise. Do this. So, is it helping you free? Oh, free. There is no I am. There's no consciousness. There's no awareness. There's nothing. There's just perceiving. I felt this 5 years ago for 2 weeks. And I believe I spent the last 5 years with the body detoxifying. Yes, got it. Who's aware? Right. I feel like there is no awareness, no consciousness, no higher, lower self. I feel that all words and concepts talk about this are opposite of what this is. In addition, I feel the term I am can also be misleading, as it was proven to be misleading here during this seeming path unfolding. Rather, it was misleading until it wasn't. Very good. I love what you're going through. I love the distinctions because, yes, ultimately, these are all words. I have to use words, right, to point you to where there are no words. Right? So to say there is no awareness, there's no awareness as a concept. Right? But to say there's no awareness, there has to be an awareness there of it being said. Right? So we're looking to that which is behind the concept or the name or the word awareness for what is. Absolutely what is. So the perceiving, there's nothing but the perceiving, but the perceiving, it's awareness, isn't it? There's something that is aware. Now, I have to use the word something, right? Because we don't really have any word for it. Right? You don't have a word for the wordless. So I have to use the word something to point you, right? Because it's not a thing. Looking at it from the perspective of things, there's nothing there, which is why the mind doesn't resists this kind of a meditation. So if you go to just the sense I am without an I am, and you literally put it aside, and I highly recommend you do, right? Just there's a sense that I am. There's definitely, I'm aware of a sense of my own being. And what is aware of that? But you can't think your way there. You can't surmise. All you can do is stay with the sense I am until it becomes so fixed and so natural that even the sense of somebody going to the I am disappears, and there's nothing but the sense of I am. The sense of I am meditating on the sense of I am. Buddha meditating on the Buddha. Then you'll go beyond it. And not just with words and not just negations, no consciousness, no awareness. All of that is true. But you'll really go beyond that to what is. Because something is, right? It's not all negation. Something is. The I am prior to I am is. Right? And you are that. Beautiful. Thank you for that. I'm really enjoying this conversation. I wish you were there live. Non-duality. I am meditation work could be great. Yes, says Mary. Okay, great. Yes, please, please. Oh, dude, it says deep thanks. Oh, thanks to you guys. Yes, please. Okay, cool. Oh, cool. No doubt, GP. Very well said. However, it was aggravating for several years that the mind continuously attaches to... Yes, that's what you come to see. But you're not the mind. This is simply an activity happening within the I am. Right? And without the I am, it couldn't happen. So in another sense, it is the I am. Remember, the sense I am grows out of the absolute and creates the universe. It's not like it... it's not like it's there and then there's this universe it's sitting looking at. The I am, look around. Everything is I am. Everything is I am. Beingness, being. Everybody says I am, don't they? Don't you? Right? Everybody says I am. Right? We all have the same name. That sense, I am. Or as also as Nisargadatta put it, I am that by which I know I am. So even the I am is known. But again, just go to that. You can't go any further than that. And going there, you will eventually completely and totally dissolve. And you'll notice the, the mind might do stuff, but it'll be like, Nisargadatta's mind did stuff. Buddha's mind did stuff. Ramana's mind did stuff. They noticed it. Nothing to do with them. That's just life itself. Actually, even Nisargadatta said, if you understand that the mind is nothing but a function of nature, you'll let it go. That's all it is, a function of nature, like growing hair, eating. It's just a function of nature. The plants growing behind me. Thinking is just a function of nature. It's not yours. And there's nobody there thinking. There's just the flow of thoughts. Ah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, please do. Yes, deep thanks. You're elaborating on Dr. Hawkins. You're welcome. Golden Tiger AMVs. Do you always have some of your conscious attention on your heart? I noticed that by doing that, your connection to it is much greater. Well, when I don't, I really feel it. You grow sensitive enough that What is stress? Stress is when we get disconnected from our hearts. That's what it is. They have all sorts of things about it and distraction. Well, what does it mean when you're distracted? It means my attention is going so far away from me. My body gets discombobulated. It loses its center. That's why multitasking is so stupid. It's just stupid. It's a waste of time. It's painful. It hurts. It creates stress and anxiety and eventually illnesses. Because the further away we get from ourselves, our heart, our centeredness, the more we're going to feel the stress. If you recognize the stresses you have in your life, are your attention going away from you, you'll begin to discover, well, real me time. Bringing my attention back here. All right. From here is where everything happens. From here is where I engage. From here is where I fulfill all my responsibilities. From here is where it all comes. And here, there's no stress. None. So the feeling of stress or disconnection, right? We become sensitive to it. We become desensitized to it over the years because as children, because of trauma, we had to disconnect. So we had to lose touch with it. We had to cut it off. And we've suffered for it ever since. And so now, if you've had any kind of experience that this is open to it and you felt it, being away from it is painful, as it always was. But children didn't have a choice, you see. Right? The system took over and had to suppress it. It was a matter of life and death. And because of that, that's all the mechanisms that are in place that want to keep us from going back here because it's just assumed it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be painful. It's going to hurt. And we discover little by little that it doesn't. it isn't, that this is simply the body-mind mechanism of conditioning, and I am not my conditioning. That's the big insight. And from there, as you see, that insight, as Free pointed out, clears out. It does the exfoliating. It does the recolonizing. It does all of the dissolution very gently. It doesn't require a lot of effort. Effort will happen where effort is needed. And it does require effort to keep your attention solely on the I am. It does. Because there's nothing there. The mind doesn't want to be there. And so you're just going, all of that's going to happen. There's nothing to see here. Move along, nothing to see here. It's going to just want to be distracted. Bring it back. Gently and lovingly. So, yes. Do you always have some of your conscious attention in your heart? Yeah. That's my objective, yes. I know the pain of it not being there, which is kind of a self-corrective mechanism, isn't it? Whenever you feel it, and you can feel it. I'm off somewhere now. There'll be a restlessness. There'll be, feelings in the system. They stop to be symptoms that you want to get rid of. And stuff. It's like, oh, wow, okay, I've disconnected somewhere. I've re-identified with something somewhere. So it's no longer something I've got to fix. It's not therapeutic any longer. It's not that you want to live with them, right? But it's just you realize that this isn't just a symptom to suppress or a problem to fix, but this is an indicator. I've gotten off. I'm identified with the person somewhere. So where am I identified with the person? Just bring back. I'm aware of this symptom that's happening. Now, who's aware of that? I am. So who am I now? Who's this I am that's aware of that symptom? Thank you, symptom, for bringing me back here. Thank you. Right? Hopefully, you don't have to get so severe that you finally get my attention. And that's what illness is. That's what physical illness is. It's when the body says no, to quote Gabor Mate. And I just heard him do another talk about that, which is just, it is the direct connection between this disconnect from ourselves and our denial of our own nature and our own needs and the like, and major league illnesses, cancer, multiple sclerosis, almost all of them. Some structural ones, breaking a bone and stuff. You might even be able to make an argument for that as well. But so let the symptoms get your attention early. Right? It's the tiniest little discomfort. It's like, oh, there's a discomfort. There's a restlessness here. What's this about? To whom is this appearing? Thank you. Thank you. I'm identified somewhere. Wonderful. Thank you, Golden Tiger. Great name. Eva, I am not mixed with anything, as you have just told. This is why such a workshop on I am, I would appreciate very much. G. Yes. It is. I mean, it is pretty much the main, if not the only, real practice that Nisargadatta recommended. Ramana Maharshi had much more structure. He had various levels that he talked to, as did the Buddha. Right? Different things for all separate, different kinds of people. Sometimes just, but even so, just focusing on your breathing, it's simply a way of, because for many people, especially in the beginning, the idea of just focusing on the I am is just next to impossible. I sat with somebody. I traded a haircut for a guided meditation. This lady I met at the gym, and boy, her mind's all over the place. I gave her just stop every now and then and do three deep breaths, very slow, very deliberate, and she did it. And I saw her about 3 days later. She said, first time she just slept like a baby throughout the night. I said, okay, so not just try to, when you're doing that, set aside some time to take 3 minutes and just breathe and see. And if you get distracted, no problem. It's no big deal. Just keep doing it. And then when I sat with her and did a guided meditation, it was really difficult. It's probably about 3 or 4 minutes in. She goes, okay, we're done, right? I go, well, let's just see if maybe we can try it a bit more. And then she was visualizing herself walking on a beach, and she was a beautiful visualization, which calms her body down. It's okay, but just the breathing, even that, let that go if you can. And we couldn't get very far. But so you could see getting somebody like that talking about focus on the I am is like a complete waste of time. And so instead I backed it off. Like, breathe. Stop every now and then. Take 3 deep breaths. Just watch what happens. You see, I was standing in line, I was getting irritated, and so I just went, this is amazing. It's the first step, you know. The serum's been injected. you taste that. Yeah. So I don't know how long it will take her to get to the next step, but it's okay. It's not a problem. Right? This is where you start where you start, right? You start where you are. Can't start where you want to be. Let's see. Stops worshiping. Yeah, finally looks what the words are pointing at. Yeah. Then finally stops worshiping the finger. Finally looks at what the words. Yes. Yeah. The mind will always be looking at the words. Will always be looking at the finger. When are you looking at? What are some tips to go and put attention on the perceiving in the middle of a destructive trigger? It feels like during the tumultuous conditioning of his body, it's hard to go to the perceiving in the middle of torturous triggers. Well, that's it. That's the practice, isn't it? Now, the more we practice when we don't have those, the easier it gets when we do, which is why this is a practice and not a remedial care, right? This is something you cultivate over time, right? But when you're in the midst of it, sometimes there's nothing you can do, right? If you're by yourself and it's happening, right, and you're not engaged, it's not being triggered by something externally that you have to give your attention to, then you can just sit with it very quietly as best you can. And your mind will go, "Rah, rah." That's also a point where I would recommend tapping on yourself, because it tells the body it's okay, it's safe, which helps the body relax, which then helps you surrender more to it, right? And really be aware of the very subtle way on which we look at these things and want it to go away. I want this tumultuous conditioning to go away. What you do when you say that is twofold. You've created a God, you've created an other, a powerful force that is working against you. And now have a relationship with this. One is, I've got to transcend this, or I've got to go away, I've got to bring my attention back in, or something like that. That relationship is giving it life. There's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. It's a bunch of feelings and thoughts, nothing more. And a very strong urge or impulse to identify with, in this case, not with the conditioning, but with someone trying to get out of the conditioning, which still has a relationship with the conditioning and still makes the conditioning into an entity that needs to be dealt with. There's no other. There's nothing but you. You're shadowboxing, right? And so, right. So even the desire for it to go away is part of the conditioning. And just withdraw back into that. If your mind just totally freaks out, well, look, there's the freaking out mind. And just do it and do it and do it. And then when it subsides, which it will, it's not forever, it's impermanent like everything else, then you just say, oh, now you go back. Look what happened. Yeah, I see it. What were the triggers? Yeah, I see it. Okay. Oh, I fell for it, didn't I? Okay, more love. More love. More love. Remember, it really helps if you look upon conditioning as not as this enemy, this problem you have to solve, but more like a rescue dog that needs your love. Habits and patterns that are in the nervous system because it's afraid. They all arose out of our early traumas. That's where they came from. Right? Right. Fears and wounds and doubts and suppression and disconnection from our soul. And that's what created the dog that needs rescuing. We're rescuing conditioning. We're not fighting with it. We're seeing through it, that it's not a self. It's just activity that's being perceived. And so going to the torturous with it and think let's stay free. Okay, I'll get to free again. Now to Dave. Thank you, Free. I'm really enjoying your questions. So don't feel like you're asking too much. Some people go, I'm asking too much. No, you're not. You're not. They're very good questions. I'm sure everybody here is enjoying them and the answers. So, David, I'm having trouble allowing my powerful feelings of grief and sadness around what happened to me in my life. I want to put them in a box or beat them away because I feel letting them out, the pain and sadness will never end. I identify with it and think the pain is all I am. Well, yeah, that's what's happening. The sense of identification is arising, right? And it's that sense of identification that's tried to suppress it, right? Things still come up for me. Some little thing will spark and my body will just kind of go like this, a moment when I was humiliated, right? Or something that I simply did, it was so stupid, or I hurt somebody and didn't mean to, or I justified myself when I was clearly full of shit. They sting, right? What do you do? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I allow this to be healed. I allow myself to be more. I allow my human experience to be more kind, more loving, more gentle. I allow this to happen. And my body will resist, right? My heart says, yeah, it's fine. Come on. My body, oh, no, sir, that's not happening. And my mind will jump in and make up all sorts of reasons about it. You're becoming increasingly aware of that. the impulse to want to put them in a box and beat them away, right? That's part of the conditioning, isn't it? Remember, it's all the rescue dog. It needs your love. I mean, when you see a rescue dog, you don't want to throw him in a box and throw him in the river. Oh no, you take them. You can't help them yourself. You bring them somewhere where they can, right? I mean, that's what we do. That's the heart. Now, if we had that same kind of compassion towards the rescue dog that's in ourselves, oh my goodness. And the mind will say, it's never going to end. It's just never going to end. And then you say, well, okay, then it doesn't. What am I going to do? Fight it? Tell it it's bad, make it go away? That hasn't worked. So what if it is here for the rest of my life? Okay, fine. I'm not going to fight it. At least I won't be battling over it. At least I won't be in conflict. Right? It'll just be straight up garden variety direct suffering, instead of suffering compounded, suffering on top of suffering, suffering resisting, suffering, right? Suffering, I'm spiritual, I should know better. It's all that fuck. I don't know better. Here it is. Thank you. Thank you. And the master, you don't really want to do that. You don't really want to do that, do you? Yeah, you're just using another excuse, because maybe if you convince it that that's what you're feeling, it'll go away. And you go, no, no. Yeah, that's all there. That's all going to come up. But what my heart is saying is true. I really want to be free. I want to be pure love. I want to let happen whatever needs to happen without my interference. And I am more than willing to be with the consequences of whatever happens as a result of that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I leave my highest desires, my highest prayers in the hands of the power greater than mine. The power that brought me here must bring me home. How's that for you, David? You're such a good man. You are such a good man. I got to have some private sessions with him. He's a good man. Free. My new buddy, Free. Important question. Weird phenomena happens here. When the perceiving seems to notice conditioning unfolding, the male conditioning comes to a halt, and then the whole system seems to be angered. Male as in male, masculine conditioning, because it said male like, like the male or email. Following male conditioning seems to, and then the whole system seems to become angered. Good, let it be angered. That means there's just anger there. Right? Just let the anger come out, because it's been suppressed, right? Remember, your only job is to be love, which means to be present with whatever happens, whatever comes up, right? Knowing yourself as the pure I am is not a get out of jail free card. All this stuff's still going to happen until it doesn't. But what happens is that you're already grounded in nirvana. At this point, you're just allowing karma to fulfill itself. Buddha lived another 50 years after his enlightenment, which is karma unfolding itself. That's exactly what Nisargadatta said. It's just unfolding itself. It's got a particular energy. It's got to do it. This is the nature of life. And I am no longer a part of it. So I'm not creating any more energy. I'm just watching it. But I can't stop it. It may even create another lifetime. Fine. Fine. My only job is to not identify with it. It's not me. I have no karma. I have no reincarnations because I was never incarnated in the first place. I have no births. I have no deaths. I've never done anything. I've never gone anywhere. So there's no cause and effect that has accumulated for me. Right? So that belief in a separate self, right, which was never mine, which was simply the appearance on the absolute of the I am, which includes everybody, by the way, right, is simply running its course. These are what are pointed at by the Buddha periods and the period of Maitreya Buddha and the yugas, right? And all of these, they're pointing at that which is not the self. You never incarnated in the first place, so it's not possible for you to reincarnate. A world appeared to you, the world disappeared to you. Could it be said, the more patient I am becoming with my children's emotion, it's a direct reflection of how much more patience I am showing for my own? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd add an expletive to that to make it, yes, of course it is. It always starts here. The moment we can accept our own feelings, it becomes absolutely a piece of cake to accept the feelings of others. A piece of cake. Because it's coming from the same place. Because accepting my own, I'm no longer in a place where I'm reacting to others. They just come in. And what arises? Love. Love, compassion, tenderness, patience. Oh my God, look, yes. Oh yeah, I did that too. No, judgment can't live there, He was without sin, let him cast the first stone. No judger, no accusers can live there. When I look back on the shit I've done in my life, if I ever judge anybody, you all have permission to hit me with the brick. Not to mention, who knows the horrible things in past lives, right? But the job is to become free, and in the process of becoming free arises the patience, the love, the sweetness, the compassion, the ease, the willingness, the capacity to be with suffering, the suffering of others. That is the bodhisattva heart. That it is the perfect middle way between the absolute pure, indescribable, ineffable beingness and the experience of the beingness as human life. So beautiful. So beautiful. Mary, I love the rescued dog analogy. You are helping me to be kind to myself and all others. Yeah, it's how we see each other, right? I used to call it the robot, which is also useful too, because there's nobody there, right? It's like Siri, right? Or whoever talks to you on your phone, right? There's nobody there. That's a great analogy too, but that can become kind of cold. So I started using the analogy of the rescue dog. Nobody gets cold with a rescue dog or a rescue cat. Everybody I know has rescue animals. And I still love, I get a kick out of it, and I get teary-eyed when I watch stories of animals being rescued on YouTube. Very short 10-minute little things they have about it, and they, donations and that sort of thing. Lisa and I want to take Om School and make an Om School Om shelter, an Om for the critters. Because it touches your heart. Now, if you can look on everybody, that the person is always angry, or the aggressive politician or something. Imagine the rescue dog, her growling, stuff like trying to dodge you, trying to keep away from you. You don't feel that hostile. They should know better. They're terrible people. We don't do that to them, do we? If we could see everybody like that, everybody like the wounded child or the rescue dog, what a different world we'd be living in, huh? What a different world. Anne's blog. Hello, Anne's blog. Hi, G. Thank you. Breathing intentional. It's working so well for me. I try to feel worthy, but it seems so difficult. Tapping is a way, but so far I've been able to. I haven't been able to feel truly worthy anyway. Patience, my love, patience, very patient. The mind's in a hurry. I gotta get there. I gotta get there. And notice that all that does is create stress for yourself. It's like, oh, how about just completely accepting the fact I don't feel worthy? I don't feel worthy. You can tap on it if you like. I don't feel worthy. You may have seen some of my videos I've done. I do just that. I do the tapping on, I don't feel worthy. God, I never felt worthy. I'm not worthy. I'll never be worthy, right? Can you just feel there's just this little blossom of self-acceptance? Well, what if I never feel worthy? Okay. All right, then. I don't have to worry about it anymore. See, we can get in this thing that I want to feel worthy and I don't feel worthy. And all of a sudden I'm doing this. I got this conflict. I've got unworthiness as this thing, and worthiness as being this carrot I keep reaching for. Right? The fact of the matter is, they're both you. Just bring them together. The desire to know your true worthiness is what inspires the desire to feel worthy. If it weren't so, it would have no meaning. Your dog doesn't feel worthy or unworthy. It just does what it's feeling. It doesn't have those kinds of concepts that it associates with. It's just this feeling. So if you didn't know inherently your own worth, you could not feel the absence of it. So it's there. All you have to do, yes, right. So I'm just going to give it permission to reveal itself. Stop striving for this and instead be present with what's here, which is the feeling of being unworthy, at the same time recognizing, but the only reason I can feel that is because something inside me knows my true value, my true self. And that's the nature of the true self. Does that help, Anne? And your blog? I don't know how to say that. Yeah. Everybody's that help, right? Because we all struggle with it. We all struggle with a sense of not being good enough, not being valuable. And it came from regional trauma, going back there where we just assumed we weren't worthy. That's why we weren't getting the love we were supposed to give. Natural for kids to do that. They give it that meaning. When in fact, nothing to do with you. Your parents' incapacity for loving you in the way you needed to be loved, taken care of you in the way you needed to be taken care of. And so over time, an energetic assumption arises in the system because it has to try to explain that. It can't just say, it just can't, if it just completely accepted unworthiness, you just die. Well, I can't live, right? But it kind of cordons it off, sticks it over down on the side, and there's this feeling of not being worthy. That even if you do things that really are worthy, have successes in your lives, good relationships or whatever, it doesn't budge, right? It doesn't budge. And so you just go, okay, so there's this feeling there, right? And I'm just going to really lovingly be with that feeling. There's my rescue dog. It doesn't feel worthy. A rescue dog would just be kind of cowering, hiding, trying to stay invisible. Right? For me, it takes a different shape, but it's the same energy. And so I'm just going to be present with whatever love I do have. I'm going to stop trying to feel worthy because that's just fighting it and trying to make it be because it's afraid. It doesn't want to show anything that says I'm worthy because whenever it did in the past, it got hurt. So no, it's not going to come out. So instead go, I love you just as you are. And if I never feel worthy, fine. I'm just going to be here and love you anyway. Right? Even this part that I really don't want to love. And you can even admit it. I don't want to love you. You're really ugly. And you're nasty and you smell. But I want to. Best I can do right now. I can feel the effect. I can actually feel the effect it's having on you right now. Beautiful. Thank you for clarification and bringing me back to the I am, says Robin. You're very welcome. Yeah. And now look at it even more closely. Did you come back to the I am? Or did the notion that you left simply dissolve away? Can you come back to the I am? Can you leave it? Can any of you right now get up and walk over to yourself? Wasn't the I am sitting there witnessing the sense of wandering away from it? Which one are you? Oh, see this? Oh, Free, I'm loving your questions. Thank you so much. Would you say that we are now going through the Kali Yuga? Well, according to the various scriptures that cover that, we not only are, we're at the end. So for our benefit, it was the shortest of all the yugas. Right? There was like 100,000 years, and then 10,000 years, or 50,000, 5,000, and now 500. And the characteristic of the end of the Kali Yuga is that it is going to look like evil one. It is going to seem as if we are without hope, and which means all of our human resources will be and intellectual resources will be exhausted. We will not be able to deal with confronts us. And this is the squeeze that pops humanity out the other side. It's also the end of a Buddha cycle we're coming into. Buddha cycle lasts for 2,500 years, and then there's a new Buddha. And the Buddha to come is called Maitreya Buddha, which is the Buddha of love. And I heard Thich Nhat Hanh say, which is just beautiful, says that, talking about Maitreya Buddha, the Buddha is to come, he says, it doesn't have to be one person. It could be all of us. Oof. Thank you, Master. Wow. Free. I know you. I remember a story about Buddha. The student said, Buddha asked the Buddha, what is my true nature? And Buddha replied, look over there in the woods. Listen for the sound of the river in the distance. There you are. Yes, there's a little bit more to it. I feel like Adam and Eve's story, where Eve bit from the apple, is an analogy for when we first became identified with mind. That's exactly what it is. Buddha also pointed out off in the distance. Then he said, where are you hearing it? Are you hearing it in the distance? I said, no, Master, I'm hearing it here. So your hearing is here. Yes, that's your true nature. What is heard seems like it's off in the distance. Where's the hearing happening? Here. What's hearing? You are. That's the I am. That's Buddha nature. Adam and Eve, yes, and that's exactly that. The Adam and Eve story is a mythological story that represents the arise of duality and the partaking of duality by human consciousness, which caused it to feel, the first thing they felt was fear and shame. Then came me and God. It's also an analogy for our childhood, right? When our parents hurt us, right, where they're only supposed to help us, right? When they make us afraid, whether it be mildly or abusively, right? Same thing happens. The duality arises, separate self arises. And then we project upon them, they're good, I'm bad. Hence you get things like, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I'm not lovable. These all arise because we cannot impute to them any kind of wrongdoing. This is the analogy of Adam and Eve. God good, me bad. I got to get out. I'm being punished and thrown out of the garden, which simply represents the unity of being. So yes, it's a beautiful analogy when understood. If we try to say the earth is only 6,000 years old because we're counting from Adam, well, yeah, okay. Let's see. Scott Wendell, how does the concept of separate non-physical souls reconcile with non-duality? Well, oh man, there's a whole lot of ways I could approach that. 5-dimensional beings, archangels, demons, non-physical souls, people who have died but not quite left, and the like. If we come to see, first off, what I would say from the non-dual perspective, I would first say, is there such a thing as an other? Rama Maharshi was once asked, well, how should we treat others? To which he responded, there are no others. You know, the Bodhisattva vow is so magnificent. It says, suffering beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. And having saved all beings from suffering, no being has been saved. Now, what does he mean by that? Wow. Wow. I just saw David. I'll get back to there, David. What does he mean by that? He means that our experience of others is very real. And in that context, we deal with it with total compassion. So people have experiences with archangels, right? With other beings, with other multidimensional beings and that sort of stuff. When Papaji was young, actually all through his life, up to the time he met Ramana, Papaji had a relationship with Krishna. Now, this was no ordinary relationship. He literally saw him, starting as a child, but as he grew up, it didn't fade. He'd go and talk to him just like you and I were talking. It was that real to him. And he had gone to Ramana. He was being with Ramana and studying with Ramana. And he'd go up in the Arnakula during take a walk up there, and he'd go up there and play with Krishna. Well, he was coming down once when Ramana was making his he would go up a couple of times during the day and walking up on the mountain, and he saw I don't know what his name was, but it wasn't Papaji yet. Coming back down, he says, well, what were you doing? And he told him, I was playing with Krishna. He says, is he here now? He says, no, he's not here now. He says to him, anything that comes and goes can't be real. It shook him to his core, because it was his religious conviction. I mean, it's around that. But it wasn't long after that he completely woke up. The experience, I don't deny the experience of otherworldly beings, of lights, of talking to the mushrooms, right? I don't deny any of near-death experiences where people have extraordinary experiences and meet beings and all that sort of thing. What's real? So I'm not trying to deny them, right? Any more than I deny you. But truth of the matter is, if I was entertaining an archangel and I was talking to you, there'd be no difference. The only difference is that we have this idea about, well, if it comes in this form, then it's real. And if it's not for what's real, the only thing that's real is what is here all the time. That's reality. What is, what does not fluctuate, which has no beginning and no end. So anything that comes and goes is an experience, and is an experience of the self. It's not an experience of another objective, separate being. That's how the mind projects on it, because it thinks of itself as a separate being. Therefore, I'm talking to an angel, or I'm talking to Krishna, right? I am talking to an angel. I am talking to Krishna, but they're both me, not the personal me. They are both the self. The reality, to touch the reality, you go to the sense of I am, right? Because if there's anything there, they're the sense of I am as well. So you tell the archangel, go to the sense of I am. That sense of I am is that is the ever-present reality. Well, it is that which emerged out of the ever-present reality. It is the ever coexistent aspect of the absolute reality. So, where they come from? Yes. So you don't have to deny it. If somebody wants to talk about, 5D, that's a popular one right now. Or, aliens or multidimensional beings are communicating with us, or I'm channeling some ascended master. The experience is real. What is reality? Right? Ramana didn't deny that Papaji was experiencing that. He just said, is he here now? I don't know. If it comes and goes, it can't be me. Can't be real. Find what isn't coming and going. And if you look, you'll find the only thing that isn't coming and going in your entire existence is the sense I am. That's it. Because in order to have any experience, you had to be there first. Simple. But our attention is so much on what's coming and going, and is this real? And what do they say to me? And all of that, it's good, right? There's a lot of wisdom that comes through that, right? But what's real comes and goes. What doesn't come and go? What doesn't come and go is reality. It's what is. And this is what we're after, folks. This is the real stuff we're after. Mary said, I have a feral cat since November. I'm in love. He's such a sweetheart. Yeah, I have my little buddies here. I love them so much. I love them so much. They're great. They're great cats. Answag says, thank you so much, G. I love your work. It is a gift to our world. Love from Anne in Denmark. Oh, you're so welcome, Anne. Free. When you said what is perceiving perception, it sent a jolt of fear through this entire body. Ah, okay, good. Let it come. What's perceiving the fear? Just go, all right, wow, fear. Fear's coming up. There's the fearing mind. Okay, good. Let it be there. What's perceiving that fear? Yeah, because there was still in you a sense of trying to identify with the perceiving, right? The mind was still looking for something solid that it could stick I am the perceiving, and form a concept about it. It's very subtle. You are really on the edge. You are really walking the edge there, my friend. It's very, very subtle. But when you see, wait a minute, that's not it either, the sense of identity now is threatened, right? So just say, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. You're okay. It's all right. We're still here. I'm here. I'm just coming to know who I am, but I've been here the whole time, right? So there's no need to worry, right? Just, because this concept isn't quite right. That's okay, right? Just very kind, very gentle. David, GP, when you said those feelings may always be with me, it makes me think it's a validation of the abuse for some reason. I seem to get stuck in that idea. Yeah, I get it, right? Because somehow the only way, somehow we have to, where you're getting stuck is this very subtle idea that for me to be free of this, I have to have it acknowledged by the perpetrators. Now, if the perpetrators are dead, you're not going to get very far with that. Or some, they're just so dark, they're just so stuck that they're never going to admit to it. I work with lots of people whose parents just, they can't own up to it. And in a sense, if it's been really abusive, I don't know how they could. I mean, it's going to be a real hard day when they do come to terms with exactly what they've done, right? So see if you can just let go of the need to have it validated or not. Right? So what? So what if they never know what they did? So what if they're never punished for it? Right? What if I don't have to validate it? Right? It happened. I know it happened. You know, how do I know it happened? Because I can feel it. Obviously, it happened. Right? I don't need that validated. It feels traumatized. It feels like shit. Right? So yeah, something happened. And for my whole life, I blamed me for it. There was something wrong with me. Now I realize it's not me. It's things that happened to me that created certain patterns within me that I have now been acting out as if they were myself. I'm not responsible for the ones who perpetrated it. There's nothing I can do about them. Nothing at all. They may even completely deny it for the rest of their lives. You know what? I don't give a shit. I want to be free. I want to be free. So I'm not responsible for them. I'm not responsible for what happened. I'm not responsible for what reaction my whole nervous system did. But I am going to take responsibility for being the loving witness that brings the system back to normalness, back to health, back to wholeness, back to love. And I don't need their approval to do that. I don't need their help. I don't need their assistance. I don't need their recognition. I don't even need them alive. Right? This is my territory. This is for me. And I claim this. Yeah, it'd be great. You know, there are many times early on when I finally began to wake up to exactly how abused I was and the impact that it had on every aspect of my life, there was this sense of, I wanted justice. I'm a vigilante, right? I wanted justice. But it didn't take long for me to realize that it was not possible. She was still alive at the time. It's not possible. She can't see this because she had no idea what she was doing in the first place. Right? And I knew enough about her illness that any kind of confrontation, she'd become somebody else that didn't do that. And it was a madness that you couldn't possibly deal with. So I had to let that go early. Okay? No, it will not come from her. And it was a real struggle to validate myself, right? To actually validate, yeah, this really did happen. I really did experience that. She really did do that. And I did react. And then I did, yeah, it all really did happen. Wow. And that was the open door to self-validation, the self-recognition, because something inside was wounded enough that it can't admit, and she couldn't have done that. No, she really didn't. And then the other part, yeah, we want her to admit to it, but underneath it is this what got crippled is this capacity to simply recognize, yeah, this really happened. This really happened. And I got the brunt of it, and this is the effect it had on me. And I am now taking ownership of this space to lovingly bring this rescue dog back. And I'm the rescue dog. Oh, David, I love you. Love you too, Facebook user, who's going to remain anonymous. Mary Sykes, do you think premonitions are real? Before my cat came into my life, I was in a light sleep and felt a small animal jump from my shoulder between my lower arm to my to my thigh. Spooked for a moment, but then a voice inside to not be afraid. And then I relaxed and knew it was okay. Then about 3 months later, my cat came into my life, and he actually did exactly the same thing as I've dreamt about. I've had those experiences too. We want to call them a premonition, right? Oh, it's a premonition. Something is going to happen. And then we start looking for premonitions, right? We go, was that a premonition? Was that a premonition? Here's the deal. You can't know it's a premonition until after it's happened, right? So don't even bother. What that is again, the mind trying to kind of defend itself against what might happen. Was that a premonition? What should I do? Should I not walk that way? Or is this an impulse to not walk that way? So I will walk that way, and then the bad thing's going to happen. Man, you can really get lost in that sauce. It's just that, oh yeah, it happened. I remember once walking into a room. I was visiting a friend in college, at a college. And I had a dream. I think it was like 2 nights before. In that dream, I kind of walked into a room, and there were people there, and I was leaning against the door and having a conversation. 2 days later, I walked in the room, I leaned against the door. There were all the people having the conversation. At that time, I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, and I was like totally into it still. Doing a lot of acid and the like at that time. Not in that moment, I wasn't, but later that day. So yeah, it's just like, well, maybe it is. We'll find out. Maybe it isn't, and there it is. It's the easiest way to come to terms with that, because the mind really wants to go off on that stuff, right? It's a way of trying to figure it out, or get some kind of special power, right? Or try to avoid bad things happening, or make sure good things happen. It's like, what you're dreaming about tonight, let me know if it happens later. Then you can say, yeah, it was a premonition. Too late to do anything about it. Wonderful. Free. Perceiving seems to stop during sleep. Can you explain this after your rant? After your rant about you can only be what doesn't come and go? Well, perceiving does stop, but you don't. Perceiving does stop, doesn't it? There's no sense of I am there either. There's nothing, but you're there. You're still, nobody says I went to sleep and stopped existing for the last bit of time. And dreaming comes up and dissipates. Stuff comes up and dissipates. That is a hint at the nature of the absolute. And the nature of it is also a representation of your birth. The absolute, followed by a dream arose. A life arose, an experience arose. The waking day, the waking dream arose, which lasts for, I don't know, 16 hours, maybe less, maybe more. Right? And then it fades back into the pure absolute. And the enlightenment is when you are self-aware as the absolute. It's a weird paradox, right? You don't even know you exist. You just are. But the I am is coexistent. Right? And so, yes, we have these beautiful breadcrumbs for us to follow, right? With dreams that are very real, and yet there's nothing there, right? That come and go, that change very quickly. And that deep sleep. Now, the absolute is actually beyond that. I had a very strange experience. Not strange. When I had cataracts, right? And I had to have operations, and they replaced my cataracts. The vacuum cleaner that sucks out the cataract and then puts in artificial lenses, right? So the first time in my life I could actually see out of my own eyes and pass the driving test and that sort of thing. But at any rate, the first time they woke me back up. When they woke me back up, they have to put you out completely because you can't, you cannot move, right? They don't want your eyes moving at all while they're in there, right? So I'm out cold, and the first time I came back and I'm groggy and that sort of thing. I remember going under and then blankness, and then next thing I know, I was coming back out. The second time, though, was different. I went under and I knew it. There was something still present. And then I came back to again. So there's another level, there's another place, right? That becomes, it's indescribable, right? We call it awareness, pure awareness of the absolute, but remember, it's not empty. It's not nothing there. It is the source of absolutely everything without limit. So, does that help? Perceiving also comes and goes during anesthesia. How do you reconcile the explanation of the aforementioned? I think I just did. Yeah, comes and goes. Yeah, the conscious way, the I am comes and goes. The sense of self comes and goes. The sense of being a person, all of the perceiving comes and goes, except the essence of perceiving itself, the ultimate imperceivable perceiver, which is not a thing at all, but it's not empty. It's not self-ignorant. It's pure self-knowledge. The self knowing the self as the self, being self-luminous. I can't describe it anymore than that. Well, I will. Of course, I always do. But you run out of words, right? I'm just pointing. Keep looking. Go to the I am. Stay there. Just look. I love you too, Brent. Very good. Thanks to everybody from Brent. Reality isn't what is imagined, so says Dante. What goes is becoming imagined doesn't mean it wasn't real. It just waved. Well, it was really experienced, right? But the definition I'm using for the word real is that which is, not something that comes and goes. You can't say that tree is real. Because if you look at it, there's nothing static there. There's no isness to it. There is just, it's a constant turning over. Constant. Molecules coming in, quarks or quantum coming in and out of existence. Literally in and out of existence. Everything in there churning constantly, never static, never for a moment. The same is true of this body and the mind. The mind never sits still, does it? The thoughts are forever flowing. And so we can, in conventional terms, we say, well, this is real. This cup is real. But when you look at it more closely, you find that it isn't. It is a functioning. It is a temporary kind of consolidation of things, right, that make up the appearance of a cup. I take this and I crush it into 1,000 pieces. There's no more cup, right? So what then is the cup? Where does the cup exist? What existence does it have? These are the things we ponder. So in non-duality, when we use the word real, that's what we're referring to. That which is absolutely unchanging, which has no beginning and has no end. It does not fluctuate. It's a truth that isn't false one day and true the next, right? And you cannot have a universe without that. I mean, the science is looking for that which is. All of this is an appearance of, right? The scientist drills down to the molecules. He doesn't see the body. He sees a bunch of molecules that are with all sorts of behaviors that end up doing this for a short period of time. And those molecules are made of something. It's the search for that which is, which does not originate somewhere else, is irreducible, is indivisible, is not merely the appearance of something else, right? And that's what the human life is, our whole bodies. It's an appearance of something else. right? Because this body is not a thing. It is a conglomerate of a whole bunch of littler things, which are conglomerates of littler things, littler things, and on it goes. So this is an appearance of underlying substructures. And of course, the whole desire of human inquiry, whether it be non-duality or science, has been to find that which isn't. It's logically irrational to think that it's just appearance upon appearance upon. There's nothing actually there. There's something, right? The difference between science and non-duality is science says it's a thing. Non-duality says it's not a thing at all. So hopefully that answers for it. Be gentle and kind. Hello, philosophy in the lovers of wisdom. Philo, Sophia. Ah, yes, right, Sophia. The feminine aspect of wisdom. Yes, it's very beautiful. Not thinkers of deep thoughts. Who is the perceiving? No one. There's only perception. Yes, there's only perception. And there's yes, just keep going, Free. You're so close. Thank you, G, for satsang. So much light. Thank you, Dave and Elaine. Sally. Hello, Sally. Thanks for such a great satsang. Good to see you. Blessings. Mary, I did not think any of the time when it happened the first time. I thought it was my dog that passed years before, but then I knew it wasn't him. Totally forgot it. My cat did it, but I put it together. Isn't that funny? Yeah. You only know it's a premonition after it's already happened. So don't bother thinking about it. Your description today reminded me of this example. It's almost like the body becomes the mouthpiece for perception. It's like the perception is using the body to describe itself. Yes, that's a beautiful way of putting it. This is a vehicle through which the absolute manifests as the I am. You know, the piano player can't play a piano if he doesn't have a piano. No matter how brilliant or expressive he is, if there's no instrument through which to express it, there's nothing. Yet the potential for everything. This is the beautiful relationship between the absolute and the I am that is not a relationship at all. There's only one. It even is beyond absolute and relative. And on that note, Uncle G is going to go have some lunch. Thank you all, my lovely, lovely friends. Thank you, Free, for all of your questions. I think you're new. I don't remember seeing you before. Thank you all for your wonderful questions, and thank you all for your open hearts to each other, and specifically to Brent today, who needed it. And all my love to all of you. Till next time. Namaste.